Hi everybody, this is Gianluca. I am a portrait drawing coach and I have studied portrait drawing for more than 3 years now. And I have been able to go from zero, like not being able to draw at all, to being pretty good at it in a relatively short period of time compared to the average. So I think I'm pretty like qualified to show you the way to lead you, you know, towards a better tomorrow. So in this video, I wanted to talk to you about a very common myth, we can call it, very common belief that people have about drawing and painting, about the craft of drawing and painting, which is that like many people believe that, and maybe many people say that if you study, if you learn to draw, if you learn to paint, you will ruin your creativity. Your creativity is gonna vanish, it's gonna disappear just because you learn to paint, and so in this video, I want to talk to you about like why is it that this thing is not true, you know? Of course, now, if you think about it, it sounds kind of crazy to say something like this. It's something that is only being said when we talk about drawing and painting. Because if you talk about music, for example, nobody's gonna say that, right? Nobody's gonna come to you and say, if you learn to play the piano, you will ruin your creativity. It's something that is specific to drawing and painting. I don't know why, honestly, but a lot of people believe it, and I'm here today to show you the truth, to tell you that it is not true, right? So the first thing that I want to say is that in order to express yourself, in order to be creative, you need to know what you're doing, right? You need to know the craft. You need to know how to draw and how to paint. So basically, the craft and the training and the knowledge that you need to have is basically the foundation of anything that you want to say from there on, right? And so without that foundation, without that knowledge, there's nothing that you can say. There's no creativity that you can express, right? Because at the end of the day, like all of the practice that you do, um, all the exercises that you do, the studies of heads, the anatomy, the composition, all of these things are empty, basically, of meaning, we can say, of creativity, but they're essential and they're fundamental for then to help you express yourself in a later moment, right, when you want to say something. Because if you think about it, when we say creativity, when we say to express ourselves, it means to say something, right? We want to, I don't know, leave a message or tell a story to somebody, um, and we do it through images, right? Because when we make a painting, it's an image. It's just a still image of a scene. We don't have sound. We don't have like movies. We don't have moving pictures, but we have just one image that is still, and we need to express that message, that story that we want to say in that frame, in that particular moment, right? And so um, you need to know how to draw, for example, the human figure, right? You need to know anatomy, because if you, for example, if you want to say that, I don't know, that you are about to drink some water, okay, and you want to make a painting about you that is about to go and grab a glass of water and you're about to drink it, okay, you want to make a painting of that. How are you going to say that without knowing how to draw the human figure, right? Or how to draw a glass of water. You cannot say that, right? So you need to know um, the subject. You need to know uh, the, like the fundamentals, the I don't know, the anatomy, the composition. Also, like composition. We talk about composition, like where people should look in the painting, and all of these things. Now, naturally, we are humans, and so we want to communicate things to other humans. And so when we make paintings, we want to depict humans inside of the paintings because we want to tell stories to other humans. So learning to draw the human figure, learning anatomy is very, very important. Now, on this channel in particular, we talk about portrait drawing specifically. And so now I'm talking about this, like, I don't know, this composition that um, are not like, they're not what we talk about on this channel. But even in a portrait, in a very simple, image of a head, you can say something, right? You can express something based on, like, the position of the head on the page. For example, if you put the head higher on the page, you're gonna say something. If you put it lower, you're gonna say something else. If you put it to, I don't know, to the right, you're gonna say something else, And so all of these things need to be studied, need to be understood, right? So this is really important to understand, because most people don't understand this, and they think that if you study and if you learn these things, you're gonna basically create like a cage around yourself, and you are not gonna be able to to get out of the cage, and to say what you want to say. Of course, now this is something also really important to understand. When you hear these, when you hear people say these things, these are people that don't know, right? They're ignorant. And so what I think you should do is go to the source, like go to the person that is saying these things and look at their results. In this case, look at their paintings, right? Look at how they paint. And if you don't want to paint like them, if you don't want to, have their results, don't listen to them, because you only want to listen to the people that have already done what you want to do, right? And so if you're on this channel, you want to learn how to draw portraits. Now, you are on the right channel, because I'm here, I know how to draw portraits, and I can teach you. But obviously, if you go to somebody and he just, I don't know, splashes paint on a wall, he cannot teach you how to draw portraits, right? He doesn't know. It's just, it's not an offense or something. It's just that he doesn't know, obviously. And so you go somewhere else. You don't listen to him. It's because his opinion is completely useless to you, right? Because his results are not the results that you want to have. So this is really important to understand. Even in life in general, when you are, I don't know, going through life, like when somebody gives you an opinion, look at their results, look at what they like, look at where the thing is coming from. Because if it's coming from a place of ignorance, don't listen to them, because it's just gonna lead you where you don't want to go, because if you also look at I don't know, the greatest paintings in history, in order to make those paintings, you needed to know how to paint, you needed to know anatomy, you needed to know how to draw the human figure, you needed to study. And if you don't understand this, it's very difficult to go ahead in life in general, because studying is the most important thing. Knowledge is the most important thing. So one more point that I want to bring up is, now this is my opinion. This is not like nothing scientific, but in my opinion, there are like three phases of learning, right? Um, so when you go from not knowing anything to being pretty good at something, I think there you go in three. There are like three phases that you go through. The first one is the phase of ignorance, like where you don't know anything about the subject. You don't know, like you're completely ignorant. And so it feels like you're free, and it feels like you can say whatever you want because you know nothing, right? And so that's like basically kind of an illusion that you have, because you feel like you're free, but in reality you're not free because you don't know anything. And that's the first stage, like the stage where you don't know anything. And then there's the second stage where you know a little bit, right? Maybe you just started, you don't know that you don't know, right? You are in that stage where you know a little bit, and you feel like in a cage. You feel like you don't know what to do, because maybe like you studied something, you have, I don't know, looked at a painting, and maybe you go and make you want to try to make that painting, but it doesn't look like that, and you don't know why. And so you feel caged, you feel like you don't know what to do. And most people, this is where most people quit. Basically, this is where most people find it the most difficult, and they just quit. They stop studying, they stop going through, and so they stop and they say that they're not creative because they thought that they knew everything, and they felt, in a cage. They felt that they couldn't express themselves because of rules, right? When in reality is because they didn't know what they didn't know, right? And then there's the third stage, the final stage, which is where you know everything. And that's where actually the magic happens, right? It's where you know everything, and so you know all the rules, you have practiced all of the rules, you know everything. And so now what you can do is you can break the rules, you can start to play with them, right? There is a rule, but maybe I don't want to, maybe I don't know, in this specific situation of, I don't know, this particular portrait that I'm making, I want to break this rule. I want to make it more, I don't know, I want to make it different. I want to, make it more like this instead of doing it like that. And so, but it comes from a place of knowledge. It comes from a place of understanding. And you say, I know this is gonna, if I know this thing is gonna do, it's gonna have this effect. But I know it, and so I'm gonna do it. I don't mind the consequence of that result, right? And this is where you are the most free. And so what we understand from this is that in order to be free, you need to have knowledge, you need to have you need to have practice, you need to train yourself. Otherwise you are not free, you are in a cage, but you don't know. But even if we think about it from another point of view, I don't know, we can think about it with the point of view of a game, for example. um, when you think of a game, right, you think of freedom. When you say, what, in my free time I play games, because you feel like that's where you have fun and you feel the most free. But in reality, a game has rules that you need to follow. Otherwise, you're not playing a game. So, for example, if you're playing basketball, basketball has rules, and if you break the rules, you're not not playing basketball anymore. So, even a game, even something as free as a game, has rules. Um, but even if we think about it from a sociological point of view, and if we think about, for example, um, I don't know, a country where there are no rules, in those kind of countries, you think that maybe, like, in those kind of countries you are the most free, but you're not the most free because you have no rules. And so if people want to hurt you, they can, because there's no rule, right? And so you have to stay constantly scared of other people, and you need to stay hidden, and you need to stay safe from other people, because maybe they're going to attack you, and so you need to defend yourself. And so that's when you are not free. And so the most free countries are countries where there are certain rules. Now, of course, if you have too many rules, you're obviously also going to be um, not free, obviously. But the right amount of rules, um, they're going to lead you to freedom. If this is something that you want to think about also into your life in general, like as a person, if personally you don't have any rules for yourself, maybe I don't know, you go to sleep whenever, you wake up whenever, you don't know, I don't know, you don't have a job, you know nothing, you don't do anything during the day, you don't have a schedule. That's where you have the most chaos, you're the most chaotic. But as soon as you start to um, bring some order into your life, you're making yourself free. Maybe you say, okay, from now on I'm gonna go to bed at the same time every day, and I'm gonna wake up at the same time every day. And so you have rules, but those rules are gonna make you free. They're gonna give you freedom. They're gonna improve your life. And this is the same thing for painting. It's the same thing for drawing, expressing yourself, and all of these things. So the sooner you understand this, and the better it's going to be for you. Yeah. Now, of course, after all of these things that I've said, it is important to train your creativity as well, because creativity is like, if you just train, if you just practice the craft, if you just learn how to draw the human figure, if you just learn how to draw the portrait, of course the creativity is gonna die, but it's not because of the training, it's because you are not practicing your creativity. You're not being creative. Now, how do you practice creativity? There's many ways. You can, I don't know, read books, watch movies, you can write stories, you can, there's many ways that you can. Now, I'm not the most expert on this subject, but there's many ways that you can do it. And so you need to practice, right? The important thing is practice, because you're not born able to do something. Because what a lot of people believe is that the people that, like, if you look at, I don't know, Michelangelo, people believe that he was born as good as he was, right? And so they say, okay, in order to be like, you cannot be like him because he was born like that. And so if you're not born like him, you're not going to be able to be like him. So this is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. It would be nice. By the way, did you just retire from work and maybe you always had the passion to learn to draw? Well, I have something very, very special for you. I have a beautiful mentorship that is specifically designed for you. And so if you always had the passion to learn to draw, if you never had the time, maybe you believed in this thing that I just told you about, and because of this you've never actually went and started to study drawing. Maybe you always had the passion to draw the portrait of a family member. This is the right place for you. In my mentorship, I'm going to give you personalized critiques. I'm going to give you exercises that you can follow. It's going to be a very enjoyable process, step by step. So I'm going to follow you through all of the exercises, all of the critiques. I'm going to give you critiques, and you're gonna, if you commit, if you practice, if you do the work, I can guarantee you the results. Of course, if you practice and if you do what I tell you, because I'm not going to guarantee you anything if you don't do the exercise, because of course these things are only going to work if you do the work, right? So if you just retired from work and you want to take on the passion that you always had, contact me, send me an email, and we will talk about it. So yeah, I'll see you in the mentorship or in the next video. Bye bye.